Some children find themselves standing in a hospital doorway, watching a world move too fast while their own has just stopped. 3 days ago, this child's mother died. They didn't fully understand it. They just knew she wasn't coming back. Within a week, they are back in a classroom. The fluorescent lights are the same. The scuff marks on the floor haven't moved, but the silence following them is new. They sit at a desk, they hold a pencil. They stare at the chalkboard, performing the same routine as everyone else, while the air around them feels heavy and thin all at once. No one in the room knows what happened. To the teacher and the students in the next row, this is just another Tuesday morning. They have no idea that the person this child needed to survive is gone. The environment expects the same child who left on Friday to be the one who returned on Monday, but that same child no longer exists. In this state, a noise in the hallway can sound like an explosion. A student accidentally bumping into their desk feels like a direct assault. When they snap at a classmate or flinch at a sudden movement, their reaction feels bigger than the moment. They aren't trying to be difficult. They are simply on high alert. An adult watching from the front of the room sees defiance. They see a student who won't follow directions or who has checked out of the lesson. Grief in a child is rarely a straight line of sadness. It can look like sudden frustration, a total lack of engagement, or a stony, unbreakable distance. When those reactions are punished rather than understood, the child learns to keep the grief even deeper inside, building a wall to manage a world that feels increasingly unsafe. Years later, that child is a teenager. They spend more time in their room, the door closed, the lights low, social invitations go unanswered. They've noticed a pattern. The things you love have a way of disappearing without warning. They remember the feeling of the floor dropping out when they were 9, and they have no desire to feel it again. When a friend reaches out, they don't see a connection, they see a risk. They choose to stay quiet, keeping a little distance, not because they don't care, but because the stakes of caring feel too high. To their peers, they seem edgy or aloof. They look like someone who doesn't need anyone. But that distance is actually a guardrail, placed there to prevent another collapse. This isolation is a survival mechanism. It is the only way they have found to ensure that if someone leaves, they won't be destroyed by the impact. By adulthood, this survival mechanism becomes a professional asset. They stay late, they handle every crisis alone, they never ask for help. When a partner or a close colleague tries to share the load, the reaction is swift and automatic. They take a step back and say, "I'm fine, I'll handle it myself." They go quiet the moment things get emotional, retreating into a space where they are the only person they have to depend on. People see strength. They see an adult who is in total control of their environment. They don't see the 9-year-old who learned too early that the people you love can disappear in an afternoon. What society rewards as self-reliance is actually the final form of that childhood armor. It is a life built on the belief that staying in control is the only way to stay safe. It's easy to feel frustrated when someone is distant, or to be put off by someone who refuses to let you in. We look at the behavior and we judge the surface. We usually ask, what is wrong with this person? We assume they are being difficult, or that they simply don't value the relationship. But we can look at that same person and ask a different question. What happened to them? When we look for the history behind the action, the independence starts to look like a shield. The disengagement starts to look like a child carrying something too heavy to explain. Understanding a person's behavior requires looking past the abrasive surface to acknowledge the history of loss that built it. If you look at the guarded adult, you can still see the child with the yellow pencil. One is just the older version of the other, still protecting the same wound. Childhood grief doesn't disappear over time. It transforms. It turns into silence, it turns into control, and it turns into a strength that hides a deep vulnerability. The sudden loss of a primary caregiver changes how a person views every connection for the rest of their life. It sets a new baseline for what is possible and what is dangerous. When we listen closely to the people who seem the most unreachable, we hear the echo of someone who is still trying to survive a loss they never fully understood. Seeing the child within the adult changes how we respond to the people around us.
It turns judgment into a chance for genuine understanding.